Hello boys and girls, welcome to Over the Moon Bedtime Stories. And I hope you guys had a good day, did you? Well great, because I had a great day too. But now it's time for you guys to get in bed, and I hope you're all snuggled up and ready for our bedtime story. Our story today is coming from Disney's Bedtime Favorites. And the name of our story is Disney's The Lion King, A Wild Night Out. It was late at night in the Pride Lands. In their den, the lions were all fast asleep. All that is, except for Simba. Simba wasn't tired. Suddenly, the little prince heard a noise coming from outside. Simba perked up his ears and listened harder. Scratch, scratch. There it was again. A strange, scratching, snuffling sound. Simba carefully moved away from his mother and padded over to where Nala was. "Nala, wake up," he whispered. Nala yawned. Her eyes fluttered open slightly before closing again. "Oh, it's you, Simba," she groaned. "Go back to sleep. I was just having the nicest dream." "But there's something outside," Simba said. "Come on, don't you want to find out what it is?" Nala opened her eyes again, this time more slowly. "Right now? But it's so dark." "So," Simba replied, grinning, "you're not scared, are you?" "Who, me?" Nala sprang up like a grasshopper. "Of course I'm not scared," she told Simba. "Let's go." Together, Simba and Nala tiptoed past their mothers and the rest of the sleeping pride. They paused at the edge of the den and peered out into the night. Scratch, scratch. "What was that?" Nala asked. "I told you, there's something out there," Simba said. He squinted his eyes. "See something?" Nala shook her head. "Nope. Do you?" Simba poked his head out a little further. "Nothing," he said. He was just pulling his head back into the den when a big clump of dirt landed right in the middle of his face. "Look over there," Nala said, and Simba pawed the dirt off his nose. Simba followed her gaze, his bright eyes growing round. A shadowy figure shuffled out from behind a tall dirt mound. The creature looked like it had two tails, one in the front of its body and one in the back. "What is it?" Nala asked. Simba shrugged. Whatever it is, it was the strangest looking animal I had ever seen. Simba wasn't about to let this mystery go unsolved. "Hello," he called. "Hey you, over here." Startled, the creature looked up. "Are you lost?" Nala asked. "Why aren't you home in bed sleeping?" "I'm an aardvark," the creature replied, walking away from the cubs. "We sleep during the day and play all night. Right now, it's my breakfast time." "I wish we could sleep all day and play all night," Simba said. He looked up at the branch of the nearby tree where the bossy hornbull Zazu was perched, fast asleep. Then there would be no Zazu awake to spy on us all day and tell us what to do. Simba and Nala hurried after the aardvark, who had gone back to digging. The cubs watched, wide-eyed, as the aardvark stuck his gooey tongue into the hole he'd made in the side of the large mound. When he pulled it out, they could see that his tongue was even longer than Simba's tail and completely covered with fat, squirmy termites. When the aardvark had eaten his fill of bugs, he turned away and started to waddle off into the night. "Wait," Simba called. "Where are you going?" "To my friends," the aardvark said. "Do you want to come?" Simba and Nala knew a good invitation when they heard one. Without another thought, they bounded after the aardvark. The cubs hadn't gone far when Simba stepped on something sharp. "Ouch!" he cried, looking at his foot. A little needle was sticking out of it. Nala peered around. "Look," she said. "They're everywhere. What are they?" "Sorry," a voice from behind them said. "I can't help it. Sometimes they just fall out by themselves." Simba and Nala spun around. Behind them was a little creature with lots of sharp needles all over his back. What are all those spines for? Simba asked. Let's just say they keep anyone from bothering me, the porcupine answered with a wink. Just then, Simba realized that the aardvark had gotten ahead of them. The cubs chased after him and found him talking to a spring hare with a long, long tail and short front legs. The spring hare suggested a jumping contest, and Nala and Simba accepted right away. They had always thought of themselves as good pouncers. After all, they practice every day. You might want to reconsider, the aardvark said. Simba laughed, but one jump into the contest, his laughter faded. The spring hare had jumped 3 times as far as the cubs. After 2 jumps, she had practically disappeared. Nala and Simba knew when they were beat. Turning around, they walked back over to where the aardvark was happily digging. Are you hungry? The aardvark asked Simba and Nala. The cubs' stomachs growled. They weren't used to being up so late after dinner. A little, Simba admitted. But when Simba and Nala saw what the aardvark was eating, they decided maybe they weren't so hungry after all. Do you have anything else to eat? Simba asked. You mean besides termites? The aardvark asked. He thought for a minute. Then he bounded off a few feet. Take a look at this, he called back to them. What is it? Nala asked. Ants, the aardvark answered, though I usually save them for dessert. Suddenly a cold wind ruffled the cub's fur. Did it just get darker? Simba asked, shivering. And colder, Nala asked. Nala and Simba both yawned. The night had been quite an adventure, but they were both starting to get tired. The idea of their cozy den was calling them back home. But as Simba looked around, he realized he didn't have any idea where the den was. Which way did we come from? Simba asked. Nala looked around. I'm not sure, she said. It's too dark. The cubs searched for something familiar, a landmark that might help them find their way home. But nothing looked right in the dark. They couldn't see far enough. I guess we'll have to stay here until morning, Simba said, with a sigh. He turned to the aardvark. How long until sunrise? Sunrise, said the aardvark. It's not even time for lunch. Wait, Nala cried suddenly. High above them, the clouds had parted, revealing the moon. Its light shone on the path Simba and Nala had been looking for. In the distance, they could see Pride Rock. The cubs said goodbye to their new friend and hurried back home. Tiptoeing into the den, they saw everyone was still asleep. Happily, Simba and Nala snuggled in close to their mothers. Good night, Simba, Nala purred. See you in the morning, Simba paused to yawn. What's for breakfast, do you think? Anything sounds good, Nala said, as long as it's not bugs. The end. Well, I hope you enjoyed our story for tonight, and I hope you have a good night's sleep. From all of us here, over the moon, I'm Jackie, and all my friends saying good night.